After the lunatic platoon hunted down the claw of the hawk, the tall grass fields stand empty, except for two squires, who look at each other as the wind blows gently. With no warning, they both charge at each other, their clash creating a thud so loud that even Encred hears it from afar, knowing it's the squires. He would have liked to watch them fight, but he refuses, even when someone asks if he wants to. Achieving victory comes first after all, and according to Kreis's plans, Marcus and his men should arrive at Crossguard soon enough. As they do just that in the middle of the night, the enemy captains are shaken, screaming at each other. They cannot allow these bastards to enter the city, no matter what. They need to send some of the knight's forces back. Abner tells them that since the city has troops stationed already, they should focus on the fight here. The captains turn their attention to him, not wanting to take military advice from a mere peasant. Abner knows that nothing he will say now will be taken seriously, as long as the nobles are in charge. Each knight is a strategic weapon, ready to use, and the balance will shift. Even if a couple of them were to leave, the war would be over. He decides to return to the capital, as there is nothing he can do anymore. As the guards are looking out for the Norelia forces, they see that they have actually retreated, and this is all a part of Marcus's plan. They will pretend to attack, and once the Aspen sends people back, their knights will not hesitate to take advantage of this. With their forces dispersed, they won't be able to stop them no matter what. This plan allowed their forces to earn a gigantic victory. All of this, thanks to those damn lunatics. With this loss, the Aspen forces lost too much to continue the war. They requested an armistice by offering the lands around the tall grass fields as compensation, and Norelia graciously accepted. Spring had arrived, and with the flowers springing up, the long war against the Aspens was finally over. 10 days pass, and Encred has returned to the border guard. Most soldiers have lost their discipline, only doing their menial tasks, but he cannot do the same, as he has many fights to think about, and many skills to hone. Suddenly, a soldier comes to him and asks if he could teach him, introducing himself as Paul, a lower-ranked soldier. Encred had seen him around from time to time. He continued training just like him. He's pretty diligent and seems rather familiar. Encred asks why him. He never taught anyone, and he can't give any good pointers. Paul didn't care about that. He just wanted him to be his teacher, and the determination on his face said so too. Encred, seeing his eyes filled with passion, couldn't just ignore him, as he was reminded of himself. He tells him to come, as he will at least fight against him. Ragna, who is basically sleepwalking, hears Encred fighting and pops out, seeing that he's actually training someone. He should be able to teach decently, considering he had the best teacher in the land. That would be him, but it seems like he forgot some of the basics too, so he should remind him later. Encred continues to fight against Paul, thinking about something an instructor told him long ago. To improve oneself, they must know where they are. After seeing his platoon, who are all so much better than he is, he's finally facing someone worse than him. And now he can see where he currently stands and what he needs to work on the most. He was too focused on flashy skills for a while now, so he needs to go back to the basics and make sure they are mastered. Ragna sees him using the textbook form that he taught him. It seems that he realized the thing about the basics too. Seeing him, it makes him want to. Before he can finish, Rem interrupts him, and they begin bickering like usual, Ragna not wanting any of it, and telling them to piss off, as he is way too tired to be doing this. Still though, he gets face to face with Rem. Encred is not at all surprised that they are going at it again, and Jackson notes that they have a lot of eyes on them. Encred did not even hear him approach, making Jackson wonder if he hadn't been training his senses properly. He sighs and notes that everyone's eyes aren't on those bickering idiots, but on him. Encred takes a closer look and sees that everyone has stopped to look at his training, some considering Paul to be lucky that he can train with him, and some noting that they should all be leaving him. Later, Marcus thinks of Encred, from the squad leader of the losers to the platoon leader of the lunatics. His constant path towards improvement has been recognized among soldiers as a prime model to follow. He is a war hero, recognized by all. After climbing on stage, he speaks, noting that the reason why he summoned the nobles and soldiers of the border guards was to recognize the valiant efforts of this war's key contributors. Could they tell him whose contributions were the most impactful in this war? If he has to spell it out for them, then their head isn't even cut out to be a helmet stand. The nobles are shocked by his rather crude language, Marcus knowing they wouldn't understand, but he knows that the soldiers do, as they all smile. He invites Encred on stage, who thinks that he previously climbed this stage before, when he destroyed the spell. But unlike back then, where the soldiers looked at him with scorn in their eyes, only silence fills the air now. Marcus faces him and says that he thought about it a lot. What would a soldier like him want as a reward for his achievements? Thus, he has prepared this for him, an award that he's certain he wouldn't refuse. He opens an ornate chest in front of him, revealing a royal dagger. The royal family's dagger is a ceremonial blade, bestowed upon those who have done a great service to the family. It not only serves as a proof of honor, but grants its holder the right to be received as a guest by the royal household at any time. Encred recognizes what this is, a blade with many ornamental engravings, but little value as a weapon, though he hears the crowd cheer for him. This is the true honor, as a knight who goes after strength alone is no better than a mercenary. A true knight must build honor with the foundation of his skill. That is what defines them. This very moment will become a stepping stone for his knighthood. Even his squad cheers for him in their own way, some just smiling, others just sleepy, but all of them are happy. Marcus is glad that this reward suits him, but he shouldn't feel satisfied just yet, as he has prepared another personal gift for him. He should look forward to it in the near future. Encred can't ask what exactly he means, because suddenly, Marcus announces that they are having a banquet tonight, as he has brought the finest wine, so they should all drink to the very last drop. Encred notes that he's quite the passionate type, but a banquet, that sounds nice. The festivities are in full swing that night, with everyone having a mug of wine with them. Rem asks Ragna why he's not drinking, and it's because he can't drink something to water down. His palate is refined, so he should drink. Rem throws the drink in his face as a response, making them want to fight again, but the big guy just powers a literal barrel full of wine on them. Encred looks back at them and thinks of what Rem said previously, that he would split heads if the wine wasn't good, but now he's having the time of his life. He also isn't seeing Jackson around. He probably went to the city, but he's not really the type to enjoy this kind of thing in the first place. He gets that. He'd rather be training with his sword too, than sitting around at a feast like this. It's getting kinda boring. Suddenly Jenny arrives, wondering if he's thinking about training again. Sometimes one has to listen up, so why don't they drink together? As soon as she sits down, the ferry commander approaches, noting that he didn't expect to see another woman besides him. Her heart is ripping apart at the seams. Such a terrible man he is. Encred immediately tells her to go to hell, shocking everyone around them. How could he say something so heartless? Can he not see how wounded the ferry commander is right now? They say, as she's completely devoid of emotion. Jenny didn't expect this from him either, but Encred defends himself, noting that elven eyes always sparkle like that. Esther now understands that while some are doing what they can to help someone turn back into a human, he's flirting around. She headbutts him in the chin, surprising everyone, as it seems that his charms also affected that animal, but one of them has had enough. He pulls out his blade, as he can't stand seeing him with so many women, but in return, Encred just smiles, as someone wanting to fight him is just what he needed. The man immediately retreats, but now the fighting mood is in the air, and Krace is already taking bets. Someone else arrives. One of the border guard veterans has come to introduce a rookie to Encred, as he wanted to meet him. As they talk, the recruit stares at the ferry commander, seemingly smitten by her beauty, but she tells them that they came at the wrong time, as Encred has his eyes on just sparring now. After the fight is done, Encred thinks that this is nowhere near enough. Once he starts, he just wants more and more fighting. If he's to fight, it would rather be with someone stronger. He stares at everyone, but they are seemingly refusing to duel with him, making him wonder why. So Krace informs him that not everyone is as crazy as he is. Andrew, however, would like to take up that challenge, as this is how he's going to prove himself. Everyone stops whatever they are doing to see Andrew approaching Encred, as through him, he has learned what it truly means to never give up. He dreamed of reviving his family name as it was his mother's dying wish, but knowing his own shortcomings made him anxious and impatient. For someone like him, the commander who runs straight towards his goal with no rest is both a role model and someone he respects deeply. That is why he, Andrew Gardner, requests a duel with Encred. He too has trained, so he will not fall behind, and show him that here and now. The wind blows gently, Encred thinking that the spring breeze carries mana and announces a new beginning. Truly, this is the perfect night to fight. He accepts Andrew's challenge and will face him with everything he has. As they fight, Encred mentions the day they met, where he said that someone can only take his command if they best him. Andrew asks why he's bringing up his embarrassing phase from the past, and Encred confirms that it is the past as he swings his blade away. As he's different now, Andrew charges back in with glee, and Rem tells Encred to go easy on him, as that virgin is still persistent. Encred has noticed too that his youthful arrogance has gone, and in its place came caution and experience. Truly, just from the way he is fighting, he really is quite different. Their relationship, along with their skills, has changed. He begins pushing Andrew back again and again, until eventually, he manages to push him to the ground. He gives him a helping hand, with Andrew announcing that he's going to leave tomorrow. The time for the house gardener to rise has come. If he comes to the capital someday, he is invited to stay at his manor, although of course, He would probably want to stay at the palace since he got the royal dagger and all. Encred ruffles his head and notes that he's looking forward to visiting. Andrew wants to cry, but instead he smiles. It's fine though, because Mac is crying plenty for him already. He wipes his tears and boogers on Rem's hair, and Andrew goes to join them. Encred hopes the feast will go on all night, so that Andrew and Mac have no regrets when they leave. After sunrise, they immediately boarded a wagon for the capital. They were both a mess, having suffered the entire lunatic platoon all night, but he will be a patriarch noble the next time they meet, so sending him off like this wasn't that bad. Even though they just feasted last night, he will not just skip a morning of training. This is his own promise to himself, and it's only natural in his path to becoming a knight. Marcus arrives expecting him to be here, and Encred looks at him, but he sees someone behind him, a frog, and what seems to be a knight. Marcus notes that this is the present he prepared for him, and suddenly the knight gets into position. Encred notices, and the knight teleports right to him, but Encred manages to block, surprising both the frog and the knight. They are impressed, so they decide to see what he can do. They let out a bunch of faint attacks, but Encred can feel each and every one of them on his skin. His thighs being stabbed, his arms being dismembered, his head being decapitated. All of these blades that they are throwing out are all telling him the same thing. If he stands back, he will live, but if he keeps pushing forward, he will die. Encred has seen death many times already, so he chooses that. He will no longer let his dreams be just dreams, even if he has to die 1,000,000 times. If he can just make a single step, then that's fine. If he can't walk, he will crawl, worm his way forward if he has to. The knight is surprised to see this, and as Encred makes his last step, the frog intervenes, and the knight notes that they have never seen anything like him before. He withstood that, even without being able to manipulate it at all. If he stood there any longer, he would have really died. Encred asks for their identity, and she identifies herself as Asia, Proto-Knight Asia. Encred, after hearing this, falls on his back, but Jackson catches him, and Rem is really curious. Does she expect to get away with this just because she's a proto-knight? She's confused. Who are these guys? The frog analyzes all of them. The barbarian in the front, the silent one, and the big oaf. They are all incredibly talented, especially the one in the back. From his blonde hair and red eyes, he seems to be from the north, and even if he had just awoken, he is already at his full potential. Marcus tells them to stand down, as it's not what it seems, and Isha guesses this is the lunatic squad. They really are insane. Rem asks what the hell they are doing, but Marcus interrupts him and asks the frog if she thinks Encred can become a knight. The squad is taken aback by this. What do they mean? The frog thinks that the reason Marcus called them is that frog eyes can determine whether someone is talented or not, and to see if he has what it takes. This is the present that Marcus prepared for Encred, but unfortunately, she has to break the bad news. It's impossible for Encred to become a knight. He has pretty obvious limits. It's impressive that he made it here in the first place, although there is still someone she's interested in. She asks Ragna if he wishes to become a knight, and he tells her to piss off. She heard that these lunatics only follow their leader's command, and it seems to be true, for him to refuse an offer from a red cape knight. Asia notes to Marcus that she did him a favor and decides to leave, but the frog would like to stay a while. She speaks with Marcus about her lodgings, and Asia knows it's about that blonde guy. Frogs, they only care about what interests them and nothing else. But still, that guy is pretty good. Encred withstood her aura and even took a step. She had never seen anyone do that, especially the step. He would be a monster if he realizes this power, but if it was that easy, anyone would become a knight. Encred's old friends saw all this. He was just keeping guard when he heard a noise and decided to investigate, but he certainly didn't expect something like this. He knows that Encred dreams of becoming a knight. He has never hidden this, so everyone in their battalion knows about it. That is what troubles him. He stood tall all this time, no matter what other people said, but for someone who reached his dream to consider it impossible for him, even if it's Encred, that's extremely harsh. He goes to their cabin, and Rem opens up, asking what he wants. Before he can say, he notices the frog is right next to Encred, who excuses herself, and Rem doesn't really care, as she does not harm. He wonders why they are all acting like this is completely normal. The dream of their leader, who they all follow like dogs, just got shattered. He could be devastated completely. Encred wakes up, and Rem immediately tells him that they said he has no chance at becoming a knight. He keeps screaming it again and again, and Encred just says, "Really?" The friend pushes Rem away and tries to tell him that he will be fine. But Encred doesn't understand the worry. He decides to go train, as he doesn't have time, and he missed his morning routine because he passed out. With Encred out, Ragna wakes up too and decides to leave, with the frog finding this very fun. The friend wonders why he's acting completely okay, and Rem tells him it's because he's stubborn. Even if a knight said those same words the frog did right in his face, he wouldn't care at all. He's persistent to say the least. Now he understands no defeat means no despair, and no giving up. That is why he will not be talked out of anything. He decides to go and train too, as he will not lose to Encred. As he does his push-ups, he thinks on the power of a proto-knight, that illusion of blade specifically. It wasn't any regular old murder intent. That was different. The frog detects his curiosity and asks if he would like to know. Encred wants to know about intimidation. Is that what the skill is called? Ragna approaches with one simple question. What separates knights from them? Those who have surpassed their limits dream of knighthood. But he will never become a knight until he realizes this power. Only 1 in 10,000 can learn it. A mysterious power that doesn't just work. The frog notes that he might give up if he tells him about that, but Encred wants to know, no matter what. The frog notes that the intimidation that Ija showed is only a part of it, with Ragna continuing. The broad designation of all the powers used by knights to become superhuman, that thing is called will. It is the power of volition. Some might call it just willpower, but this is the greatest feat of humans. To be able to use it, one needs to face their limits and overcome them, and then to truly understand. He stops himself, noting that he will just figure it out, as he can't say yet. The frog explains that will manifests differently, depending on the individual. The method for one to realize their will is unique. Although all this talk is meaningless when he hasn't even broken through his limits, Ragna agrees with her assessment. Encred understands, but then, what should he do to overcome his limits? The frog once again notes that it's for him to decide. He can't know his limits until he reaches them. Encred cuts her off, as he understands. He will just keep repeating what he does until he drops dead. The frog smiles, as in her opinion, that will never work. A frog's ability to discern talent is closer to instinct than anything, and that instinct comes from experience. She has experienced countless humans. She is better than any other frog in discerning talent. 2 things are considered in her discerning process. First, whether they truly have talent, and the second is whether they have the will to carry on. Normally, it's not even worth consideration if the first is not met, but in his case, his will is stronger than any others. He has a conviction like none other. He is truly a being of mystery. A frog lives to satisfy their carnal desires. Some frogs dedicate their lives to strength. Some fall in love, but what it desires is to study the unknown. She pulls down her cloak, telling Encred that he will be in her care from this moment forth. Encred extends a hand and asks for her name, which is Luagarn. That night, as they dine in the hall, everyone's attention is drawn towards the mysterious frog that is dining with the lunatics. Out of all the people here, the friend notes that she decided to stay here, and the others immediately swarm him with questions, to the point where only that side of the mess hall becomes occupied. Rem notes that they are uncultured, but Jackson doesn't really want to hear that from him. They immediately begin sparring, with Krace noting that they are both uncultured ones. Luagarn has assessed all of their talents, and in truth, they are all insanely talented, having surpassed their limits long ago. If they realized their will, they would have all become knights, but that also requires luck. Jenny asks Encred if he shouldn't stop them, but he notes that it's fine, making her ask if he's blind. Encred explains that they are not hiding anything from each other. They seem close enough to the point that they probably won't kill each other, he says as they pull out their blades. Encred pays them no mind and asks Luagarn where she decided to stay, and she prefers to stay next to him if possible. Suddenly, an axe flies towards her face, and Encred has to block. It was thrown by Rem, who notes that the place next to Encred is his. She can't have it. Luagarn notes that they really are all crazy, and Encred apologizes for him. She's fine though. She's inclined to forgive those who are good-looking. Encred heard that frogs are sensitive to looks, and Jenny agrees. They are all lookers. Luagarn notes that he gets a pass too. She can forgive a degree of rudeness. So is there anything he wishes to ask? Encred knows exactly the question he wants to ask. Would she like to have a duel? Luagarn is surprised. He's asking that after training all day. Encred notes that he will duel and train again right after, with Luagarn noting that he's the most insane person here, and Jenny agrees, confusing Encred. Luagarn thinks that normally, people would be exhausted after doing what he did all day, which means his mentality is stronger than most, by orders of magnitude at least. How would he be if he realized his will? Encred notes to Jenny that he's quite practical, but she just thinks that he's delusional. Luagarn isn't one to spend her time on someone she doesn't see potential in, but she will play along for a bit. After she takes her cloak off though, she promises not to go easy on him. But that is exactly what Encred wanted to hear. In the Principality of Aspen, Abner thinks on their defeat. It's foolish to expect a victory at this point, but with everything he prepared, he never thought they would just lose. The cascade of defeat began with the death of Mitch Hurrier, that bastard. The taunts failed afterwards, and their giant was thus slain. However, At the center of all this events was the soldier named Encrid, the platoon leader of the lunatics. The war is not entirely over yet. Once the armistice runs its course, Aspen will definitely make a move, but if Encrid gets in their way, he can't make any other plans. The Greyhounds already sent an assassin for him once, and at the time, he found it weird that they invested so many resources in one man, but that might be the solution after all. The Swamps of Monterey are the assassin guild owned by the Crown of Aspen, which has never failed a request with their excellent competency. Thus, he requests a job in the name of the Crown of Aspen to eliminate the soldier called Encrid, no matter the costs. That same night, an assassin watches Encrid closely, identifying him as such, but suddenly Jackson appears behind him and asks who he is. A secret admirer of the boss, perhaps? Thank you for watching. See you next time. In the outskirts of the Aspen, at the secret hideout of the Monterey Guild swamps, a man smashes his fist into the table, demanding to know how they have lost contact with one of their assassins again. This is apparently the fifth one. One of the assassins reports that someone keeps taking them out. They sent an intermediate assassin now, but still, he couldn't do a thing. The old man knows that this request was sent by the Aspen Crown. If their guild, which is owned by them, fails this quest, the future of the guild will be unclear to say the least. He knows of only a few people who can take this request now. The best assassins in the guild, the Locks brothers. Regardless, they must complete the mission. As Encrid walks around town, people recognize him and begin handing out gifts, but he initially refuses. The people insist though, one man noting that his son returned alive thanks to him, and so they swarm him with gifts. In this massive crowd though, an assassin draws a needle-like blade, and two others sit nearby, waiting for the perfect moment. That moment soon arrives, and they all throw their blades at Encrid at the same time, but they get deflected by some crossbow bolts, and one of the assassins gets strung up by a noose. Encrid notices the air slightly shifting, but what was it? As Jackson chokes out one of the assassins, another appears, knowing that he's the bastard who keeps getting in their way, so he charges in, but Jackson uses the string to tie him up by the neck as well. The other assassin, who was sitting in the house, knows that this is bad. The brothers didn't stand a chance, and they need to take out the target now. Unfortunately for him, Jackson has noticed his presence already. He breaks his needle knife with a throwing one and strings him up too. Encrid approaches, asking what he is doing all the way over here, and Jackson notes that he just found some drunkards who were about to get run over in the streets, so he moved them to prevent that. Encrid senses alcohol in the air, but would do something nice for some strangers. Jackson asks if that's a problem, and Encrid says it's not and goes on his merry way. Jackson knows that Encrid has to spend this time getting stronger, and he won't let these idiots get in the way, although it seems that they keep getting better and better. That half-fairy and rat that came before them too was quite vicious. Still, who do they think they are? He makes his way to the shadowy part of town and goes directly to the guildmaster of the local assassin guild. He reports all that he has done, and she thanks him for it, but it seems like it's really the swamps of Monterey. What should they do? Jackson suggests they take them out their way and leaves, leaving the guildmaster kind of sad. Still, she summons her assassins and tells them to send a warning to the swamp of Monterey, as they have had enough. All assassins who enter this city from this moment forth shall be killed. With no other way to kill Encrid, the Monterey guildmaster goes to Abner with shame, reporting that the task is impossible. He is guarded by those who outclass them in every way, and they are quite skilled within Aspen at least. But those guys, they are the best in the entire continent. Abner understands. He rescinds the request. If Encrid truly is something special, then he will see him again on the battlefield. 3 months have passed since the return of the border guard. The weather is warm, and some soldiers are resting nearby. Encrid, who is still training despite the warm weather. It seems that it wasn't just luck that made him stronger. He wonders how strong he will get if he trains like him, but Rem calls bullcrap. Ragna is sad too. He taught him everything, yet he's still like this? Everyone from the squad seems to be doubting him, even Luagarn. Was she mistaken? It's not that. He's just as untalented as she first thought, and she admits it to his face that he's in a slump. Encrid, however, doesn't see it that way. He's taking huge steps that nobody can truly see, except him. Just as the sun is about to rise, Kreis is under his blanket, trying to read something he apparently can't understand. As he does that, Luagarn pulls his cover, as he is too noisy, but as she berates him, she notices the letter he's reading, and Kreis asks if she can read it. As the sun peeks over the mountain, Encrid immediately gets up and notes that it's time for his morning training. As he does that, everyone watches, with the consensus being that he's not improving at all. Jackson notes that he probably knows he's in a slump too, but why does he not seem bothered at all? Rem is really curious about this. What is he really thinking? After finishing his training, Marcus calls for him, giving him a mercenary request. Encred reads it, to take out a colony near a frontier town. Marcus explains that things get tough outside the city at this time of year. Monsters and beasts sprout out like crazy in the summer. Once they have enough numbers and a leader rises, that pack of monsters becomes a colony, which threatens nearby towns. A large colony has been seen near a frontier town. He will give him command of the town defenses, so he will have to take care of it. Jenny comes by as he prepares to head out, but she's surprised by how much she carries on him, just like back at Crossguard. Encred notes that it's good to be prepared, and Luagarn agrees. For such a large colony, preparation is essential. As Krace looks at the request too, Encred thinks about the whistle daggers. It would be cool to have more, but there is no way to get them now, as he doesn't have any half-elves to loot. As Krace reads the paper, he begins to shake, and immediately approaches Encred, begging to let him come with, as this is the chance of a lifetime. There is a hidden treasure right where the frontier town is. More precisely, the hidden riches of the legendary trader Dolph from 100 years ago. Encred remembers that map. He picked it up in the last battlefield. Krace explains further that this story is infamous among those who handle money. Dolph's treasures must be in an old dungeon, to the point that the traps don't even work anymore. Jenny can't read it, and Encred can't either. Is this some kind of ancient script? Luagarn notes that she helped him with that. She's a scholar after all, so deciphering old scripts is easy. Encred is surprised to see a battle-hungry frog be a scholar, and Jenny agrees. But Luagarn tells them that they shouldn't generalize. Encred decides to let Krace come, with the condition that it doesn't take too much time. They will set off tomorrow. Suddenly though, most of them say they are not going, as they are either sleeping in or on some business. Krace wonders what it is. They were obsessed with him before, but Jenny is curious if they will be okay with only this much manpower. Luagarn decides to go with them, as there is no reason for her to stay here without Encred, something which Esther doesn't like. Krace thinks they should be fine like this, and gets to packing, but Encred looks at his others, his face not betraying any emotion. After they finish preparing, Krace wonders if the panther is coming with them, and Esther hisses at him, confirming that she is indeed coming. Before leaving, Jackson hands Encred some whistle daggers, as he has his ways of collecting them. Encred asks if this is what he was doing yesterday, but Jackson just thinks he will need all the help he can get at this point. Encred gives them one last look, noting that he knows why they are doing this, but they will see each other when he gets back. It will be more fun then. Rem gets up after he leaves, wondering what he is thinking. Ragna notes that there's no sign of him getting better, but Jackson says that there were periods where he improved a lot. They still believe in him though, wondering how he will surprise them this time. Rem finds him odd and gets up, inviting Ragna to fight with at least half of their lives on the line. The others join him too, hoping that Encred keeps his word, because they too will prepare themselves. A colony attracts nearby monsters and beasts. Thanks to that, they expected the journey to be difficult, and it is just that, as they are swarmed with beasts at the moment. Krace notes that there have been 6 groups since they started, and Jenny apologizes. She was sure this was the right way. Encred says it's fine, and they keep moving. Apparently Jenny knows of a side path where not many monsters pass, but each time they keep meeting beasts. Luagarn finds this odd. Even if there is a colony nearby, this isn't no Devil's Gate either. Encred knows what that is. The source of the monsters and beasts. A land unreachable by humans, and suspected to be the catalyst for monsters. This just keeps getting weirder, and he has a bad feeling about it. After they arrive at the town, the leader welcomes them, and Encred says that they are here about the mercenary request. Before Encred can finish, a man who has seen some fights in his time appears, noting that they will talk with him about that. He shakes hands with Encred, introducing himself as the leader of the town watch, Deutsch Fullman. If he is frank, they already took care of the colony. The men of the watch are composed of well-trained mercenaries. Monsters and beasts are no match for them, and they have the wall too. A masterpiece created by an engineer from town, a regular beast can get through. There is nothing for him here. They will convey that the request is completed, so he can leave. Encred refuses. He will decide when they leave, shaking Fullman up a bit. Krace intervenes, noting that they are tired from the journey, so they should at least get some rest before they return. Fullman relents and tells Hugo to present them their lodgings, which he does with a smile. Luagarn is weirded out though. She just can't stand to look at him with her eyes. His energy, it seems similar to one of them. He seems friendly enough though, so it must be a coincidence, or probably is. After the team gets set up in a house, Encred notes that they are rather hostile, and Krace can see why, as they came here with the full right to command. That man must be feeling like he is losing control of the watch. Encred knows that's not everything, and Jenny wonders if they really got rid of the colony, but Luagarn thinks otherwise. Based on the number of monsters they encountered on the way here, The colony still exists, and it's going to be hard without their cooperation. Encred says it doesn't matter. They'll do what they must. Meanwhile, he will train with some rocks he just found, somehow, but the others are going to bed. Luagarn thinks that he's doing the same training again and again because he's not improving, but even so, how could he have that expression? She's reminded of someone else, someone who also liked to train, her one true love. Back when she had the mental bond that frogs and humans have, that feeling remains unchanged. If only her lover hadn't died to them. She asks Encred if training is fun, and he agrees with the same face that her lover once did, which seems to stun her for a bit. The leader of the town follows Fullman, noting that they defeated the hordes many times, but there are still too many beasts. They have to accept that request. He refuses, as this is their town. Everyone here came to escape those corrupt nobles. They work day in and day out to build this from nothing. If they allow the city folk to just interfere, they will soon take control of the town. He needn't worry. They can take the beasts on their own. Even now, his trusted men are watching from the walls, especially that Hugo guy. He's trustworthy and good at what he does. That same Hugo asks the watchmen if there are any issues, and they say they are all set, meaning that they needn't act anymore. And tomorrow, they will begin what they had planned. As the sun rises, countless beasts peer from the forest and begin charging into the town. The warning bells are rung, announcing that a pack of gnolls is here, and Luagarn connects the dots. The them she was talking about, what she was feeling from Hugo, was cultists. Hugo smiles, as they will do everything for their god who is stuck in the Devil's Gate. Everything started with no warning. The village was peaceful. Everyone was about their business. And suddenly, the stench of blood spread as the gnolls entered. The village was thrown into immediate chaos. The watch gathered to protect the village, and Encred rounded up everyone. But Luagarn had to go somewhere, as she promised to kill every cultist bastard who murdered her beloved. She flew out of the house, and the gnolls attacked the group immediately, Encred giving them orders, with Krace and Esther staying next to him. He ran 3 gnolls in with his blade. They have to carve a way through, as he has fought many monster hordes before, and is trying the same tricks, dodging and cutting them down. His other senses become dull as he focuses solely on the fight, taking out gnoll after gnoll, but the mutated ones are giving him trouble, as they are much larger than normal, and unlike the Lycans, these beasts just keep coming. The village was filled with screams and fear, but after a while, there was only the crackling of fire. The village, which was built on hope and survival, was trampled by the monster horde. Encred still fights, activating all of his techniques to make a dent at least. Esther tries to fight too, but with a horde this large, there is no spell powerful enough that she can make while in this form. Christ gets killed, and seeing this, Esther decides to retreat, as this would be a fruitless death for her, although she vows to avenge Encred. Hugo decides to leave amidst the chaos, but suddenly Luagarn smashes through, and Hugo is only defended by a dark shield that surrounds him. Luagarn screams out at him, but he unleashes a dark attack toward her, sealing her fate. Encred is getting overwhelmed. He's barely holding together. He can barely lift his arms up anymore. But seeing a nearby child, who is holding on his breath to act dead so he can live, he gains a boost of vitality. The gnolls suddenly make way for a bigger gnoll, who wields 2 blades at once. This is the leader of the monsters. Encred challenges him, and they begin fighting, Encred managing to smash his sword down. But the gnoll jumps around and slashes from behind, managing to nick Encred with his blade. He can still fight, but unfortunately, the blade was poisoned. The leader smiles as he sees Encred fall down. It seems that after a long time, Encred has reached another wall that he has to conquer. Thank you for watching. See you next time.